I don't see a lot of female power integrated in our life.
I think it's the feminine that's been in the mainstream, the feminine meaning, I think we all have the masculine and feminine inside us,
Yeah.
and we want to have those balanced within ourselves, whether we're male or female or transgender.
Yeah.
And I think the feminine qualities, as in the yin qualities, are the ones that are not valued in mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, like intuition and emotions and following the flow as opposed to structure and logic.
Yeah.
And someone was saying when I was sounding in the last session that some of the sounds, they're like, the witches are back. Like in terms of the healer, women who were murdered, the femicide that happened in Europe. There's quite a bad name put to witches, but a lot of the women who were killed by the Inquisition in Europe were midwives, herbalists, women healers of all sorts. They were just women healers. They were women of power who threatened the Christian establishment because it was very male-dominated. Or they had property. Women weren't allowed to own property, but husbands went to war, died, and they defaulted and had this property. And there's different theories, but millions of women were murdered, and they were called witches. And so there were these very powerful women, and there was a time where there were 3 generations of women that were systematically murdered. There was this femicide that happened in Europe where there was no living woman alive no person alive in Europe who could remember a time when women weren't hunted in this period. And so there's a way in which that certainly some people like Marianne Williamson and Nina Simons and some progressive thinkers of the day say that this is in our DNA. This is something that we're still working with around how do we really show up and be in this world and offer really what we have to offer, like really be here now. So I have this project that I'm feeling excited about that will launch in the fall, and it's going to be called the Witching Well, and a play off of the wishing well. And it's going to be a gathering. I think it's going to be for women, and it's still kind of I'm still kind of growing it in my mind, but and it's going to be a sound healing journey.
Yeah.
And the request that came from the first group that I did my sound healing journeying night with was, can you do this? Like they didn't want to leave. They kept staying, and they had all this dreams and visions that were coming to them, and they were like, this is what women used to do in Greece. They used to gather together and they would dream and vision together. And so can you do a day or a half day or a night that's dedicated to dreaming and envisioning the world that we want, and do that with sound? So we come in, and all the people who are coming in, their intention is to dream into what they want in the world to come, and I would hear that, and I would sound for a period of time, and then they would lie down and receive that sound, and then afterwards I leave silence always, so that people can just integrate and maybe journal, and then come into the group and share some of the vision streams, and just have, still kind of working it out, but just have time to kind of integrate and compost what comes out of that. And so the witching well is, how do we take back that even more fully than has already been done, that power, and how do we vision into all this goodness and wisdom and bring it forth into the world? And so, and some of this, when I do these sound journeys, initially I called it a sound bath, and the people who attended the first one were like, no. And I said, what about sound bath meditation? They're like, no. And they're like, no, it's way deeper. It's way deeper. It's a really, really, really deep dive down into the soul.